Hello everyone, welcome back. Today I am bringing you crucial new updates on the mysterious disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. The group received a highly specific tip claiming Nancy was buried just across the border in one of 25 unmarked mass graves. Now what comes next is absolutely unbelievable. This is where things get murky because the tip mentions a creek, which is incredibly unusual for this arid area. I want to show you what lies ahead for these creators now that they have been arrested and summoned to court. Are they even allowed to film Nancy's house again, even if they are just riding bikes nearby? What happens next? Will Sue Ellen face fines for admitting she destroyed the public easement? The neighborhood association rules explicitly forbid that kind of vandalism. I also uncovered more neighborhood rumors about Nancy that we need to examine closely together. Honestly, some very strange people live in that neighborhood, and a few of them seem outright hostile. For instance, they flat out refuse to hand over security footage to the FBI or the sheriff's office. Look, we are talking about a missing 84-year-old woman. Why act like that? Truthfully, I was not even planning to post today. It is over 90 degrees outside, not to mention the heavy humidity, and this room feels like an oven. But I had to record this to share these newly revealed details. You will probably notice my glasses fogging up from the heat. Let us begin. Welcome to the Case Files. I am your host, Daphne. Please hit that notification bell below so you get alerted whenever I post. Now let us begin. Pay close attention here, because this is truly unsettling. This nonprofit received an anonymous call. The tipster claims Nancy's body is buried right here. Look, this was published by the New York Post. I took some screenshots because their website is packed with annoying ads and takes forever to fully load. But I will leave the direct link in the description if you want to read the full article yourself. Anyway, let us go through this quickly. Some details really jumped out at me, and then we will map it out. A search group looking for missing persons in Mexico revealed they have been tracking Nancy Guthrie's whereabouts, after an anonymous tip suggested she was buried in a clandestine grave close to the border. I will refer to her as Ramona, the leader of the BCN group. She explained that the group received a tip on Wednesday regarding 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie, who was abducted from her home in Tucson, Arizona, over 70 miles north of the border with Nogales. Here you can see Nancy. The report details how this Mexican search team launched their recovery efforts after receiving that anonymous call about Nancy. It is horrific, but in that very same border area, they had already uncovered 25 unregistered graves. The anonymous source repeatedly insisted that Nancy Guthrie's body was buried right near the borderline. Volunteers conducted a sweep of the designated area where 25 graves were previously found, but turned up absolutely nothing. Despite this devastating setback, the group promised they will keep pushing forward, with search operations to bring Nancy and other victims back home. This is where the mystery deepens. The area in question is called Mariposa, and it lies to the northwest of Nogales, and recent operations have pushed much deeper than the searches did earlier this year. We received a fully anonymous call warning that the remains of Nancy Guthrie were buried right next to a creek in Mariposa. Really, she clarified that the tip provided highly specific clues on where to find the grave. This critical search effort was conducted in coordination with the Search Commission of the state of Sonora, and local law enforcement deployed security forces to protect the volunteers since the area is located right up against the border. The report adds that Nancy Guthrie, mother of well-known Savannah Guthrie, vanished from her home in the early hours of February 1st, and the case remains under investigation. Let us look closer. I have been studying maps of the area. I marked this sector, which corresponds exactly to the Mariposa-Nogales border crossing. The international boundary is right here. They claim to be close, and I highly doubt anyone actually lives out here. The coordinates specifically mention the presence of a creek in this exact area. I do not have the precise location, but everything indicates the search focused within the vicinity of this quadrant. Now, you might be wondering exactly where Nancy's house is located. Let me zoom out on the map a bit. Right around this area is where the United States Customs and Border Protection Office is located. And Nogales is not far at all. If you look closely, that is where they arrested Carlos. Yes, that Carlos and his house is right in this neighborhood. It is incredibly close to where they actually arrested Carlos, which makes the whole situation highly intriguing. Zooming out a bit further, you can see that Nancy Guthrie lives in this specific neighborhood right here. What do you make of this? Her place is right on the border. Look at it. Do you think they could have smuggled Nancy across? Could she actually be in Mexico right now? To be honest, we have barely considered the possibility that Nancy is in Mexico. But think about it, is that really so far-fetched? Did they actually manage to slip through the border with her? I mean, would you really risk a vehicle inspection if you had a kidnap victim inside? It sounds insane. Now let's look at what happened last night with that new update from KVOA. Absolutely wild. If you haven't seen the video yet, I will show you in a second. Honestly, it feels like they did it to mock online creators. Thank you for joining us. I am Sean Mooney. We have been reporting on the recent crackdown against what the Pima County Sheriff calls unlawful behavior by online creators in Catalina foothills. Tonight, more than 4 months after Nancy Guthrie vanished, we will hear directly from several of her neighbors. For the first time, local residents are breaking their silence about how daily life has spiraled in their community. They are not just grappling with the grief of losing a friend and an active investigation, but also absolute chaos on their doorsteps. Monica Garcia from News 4. Tucson joins us live from the newsroom with the latest details. Hello, Sean. Good evening. For months, the Pima County Sheriff's Department has been flooded with calls from residents living in Nancy's neighborhood. They report that these creators are trespassing on private property, harassing them, blocking roads, and destroying their peace of mind. Essentially, they are disrupting the entire community. We spoke with several of these deeply concerned neighbors who contacted our newsroom directly. They admit they are not only terrified of Nancy's abductor, but they also live in a constant state of fear because of the internet personalities turning their quiet streets into an absolute living nightmare. Today, fearing retaliation, they asked to hide their identities before sharing their stories. Take a look at this shocking footage. One streamer filmed himself using a portable toilet right on a public street, then dumped the waste directly onto the asphalt. And look at this, a hostile confrontation between an online creator and a local homeowner. "Get the hell out of here," a furious resident yelled at the trespasser. "I am not going anywhere. And what exactly are you going to do if I don't leave, buddy?" What a clown. It is pathetic you talk like that in front of your own daughter. Other intruders blatantly trespass directly onto the lawns of residents. "I am calling the police to get you cited. Get out of here." Residents say enough is enough. They spoke to us under condition of anonymity. Now let me pause the video regarding the woman screaming at them to leave and get off her property. Those were not actually streamers. That happened early on when locals did not know how to stop the circus. I honestly do not understand why anyone thinks they have the right to behave this way. Conducting full modeling shoots directly in front of an active crime scene. That happened early on and it was undeniably bizarre. Nobody knows who those people even were. What looked like a tour bus packed with onlookers arrived, and several channels live streamed a reenactment of the crime. They were even wearing masks. This was at 1 a.m. in Arizona. Completely unthinkable. It is absolutely impossible for a complete stranger to have slipped unnoticed into this quiet neighborhood. They say what began as genuine interest in the case quickly spiraled into a complete media circus. Even if this has become a national story watched by millions, it does not change the fact that we are private citizens. We feel like we are trapped in a fishbowl with a giant target painted right on our backs. Another resident told News 4 Tucson they expected quiet to grieve once the media left, but 2 to 6 weeks later, the exact opposite happened. Peace. Do they not realize that the person responsible for all of this is still out there? Honestly, I would feel a lot safer if there were people keeping watch over the neighborhood with cameras a few hours a day. Oh, look, here she comes. They say they constantly film the neighbors and expose them. They bleeped the audio like she was swearing, but she just named Sue Ellen. She says, "Here comes Sue Ellen." In a moment, I will show you footage of her gunning the engine, trying to run these men down. Harassing and confronting them. She is totally unhinged, uploading their names and home addresses online. What an absolute idiot. And in some cases, they hint they had a hand in their neighbor's disappearance. The community rallied, becoming tighter than ever. But collective fear is the real driver. Not just over Nancy, whose case still lacks answers, or any solid leads, but because strange bloggers are now live streaming on YouTube right from the corner. They creep up to our homes, pacing down our driveways, just hunting for information. leaving us feeling completely unsafe just walking out our front doors with their cameras constantly pointed at us. I get that these neighbors have been through hell. Honestly, I think everyone has. But claiming they feel unsafe just because some streamers are outside makes absolutely no sense. There is an armed gunman on the loose, likely with accomplices, yet streamers are the security threat. And what about Sue Ellen? Because she looks incredibly vindictive. Watch this. I am creeping closer to see what is happening leaning against a tree. We threw on the wind muff, so we are good. Hopefully it blocks out most of the noise. That is disgusting. That is my hand. I did not do that. Must be wild animals passing through. We have to walk past here almost every afternoon. Yeah. Check out the tacks over there. All over the rocks, I see them. Why the tacks to stop you from coming up to pee in my yard and trespassing? You do realize this island is not yours, right? It is my island. I know it is mine. We are putting up no trespassing signs. The county will zone it private. Well, right now it is not. This is public. They would need an ordinance for that. You are liable. This is straight up neighbor harassment. You are harassing me. I told you, you asked me not to film you. And I thought you cannot even park here, lady. Instead of harassing me, why not just beat it? Why don't you leave? No way. You are just trying to cash in on Nancy Guthrie. That is what you do. How much cash, buddy? She admitted to dumping the feces. She admitted on record that she dumped the waste there herself. So she is also in the wrong in my view. I mean, look, she is leaving her house. She went out of her way to tell him to beat it, even though it is a public easement. I showed you this recently when Juice got fined. He was on public land and she deliberately blocked the canal and pathway with boulders, ficus and cactus. The HOA prohibits this, and the local agricultural codes state that if you dump trash debris or yard waste in the canal, you face heavy fines, even jail time. I covered this just the other day. I don't know. What are your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comments. This just came to light. Attorney Laura Conover sent a statement on the charges to News 4 Tucson. It states that the Pima County attorney advised Nanos on possible misdemeanor charges for minor disorderly conduct. Regarding reports of chronic neighborhood feuds, these cases require thorough evaluation to see if they meet the threshold for prosecution by our office. Conover pointed out that the 3 charged YouTubers used their channels to blast these charges, accusing the sheriff of unconstitutional overreach. The sheriff is totally corrupt, you know. He blocked the FBI from collecting DNA, didn't even grab the welcome mat outside Nancy's house. It is still sitting there. In my book, he is an absolute clown, just my opinion. Once again, here is the photo from X that I found, showing Sue Ellen getting out of her car, presumably to scream at Juanita right when everything started. So she is clearly no saint in this story either. This video is extremely short, but I want you to listen to it because it is about their own sheriff. Alright, protocol requires me to read you your constitutional rights for all of this. Okay, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney to assist you before questioning and to accompany you during the interrogation if you so choose. If you cannot afford an attorney, you have the right to have one appointed for you before the interrogation begins. Do you understand these rights, sir? Yes, I understand them. Understood. Now, having been advised of and understanding these rights, will you answer my questions? Yes, of course. Perfect. It is absolute torture just having to hear his voice. Essentially, he claimed he accidentally packed a gun in his luggage when leaving with his wife. He completely forgot about it. That is how reckless he is with a firearm. Someone like that should not be sheriff. But enough about Nanos. I want to take you into Nancy's neighborhood chats. Look at this right here. Alright, I will show you this, and then I will probably have to end the stream because a pretty heavy storm is rolling in right now. This just came in from the Facebook group of Nancy's neighbors in Catalina and from KOLD right when they published that information. I want to read you these comments. Someone wrote, "Good. I hope your family is more compassionate and keeps the focus on you if anything like this ever happens to you. These YouTubers kept the spotlight on Nancy's disappearance so it would not go cold." And someone wrote, "This has nothing to do with Nancy Guthrie's case. It is KOLD just trying to stir up trouble again. They do everything for the money." And they commented, "How does KG make money off this?" referring to KOLD. Then it says, "Why did all this have to happen for police to show up?" The Pima County Sheriff's Department released a statement saying, that the arrests occurred after receiving multiple complaints about people blocking streets, trespassing on private property, and disturbing the neighborhood peace. But a recent report about one of the creators urinating in public behind a makeshift tent seems to have been the final straw. The post goes on to say the street urinating thing is an absolute lie. Someone who dislikes that YouTuber made several phone calls and they do not even live in Arizona. I watched the video myself and he never urinated in public. Another person from Catalina Foothills Estates commented what they were doing is not legal at all. Jan Lesher gave them permission. The only thing they achieved was exposing our community to a rights violation lawsuit. There is no law prohibiting standing on public property with a camera. Auditors do this every single day. This is another neighbor post about Nancy Guthrie. Someone commented, "I have footage of a woman who spots my camera and quickly walks away." Would you guys be interested in seeing that footage? This happened on February 12th, 2026. Of course they replied, "Absolutely send your video." This neighbor then wrote to the Pima County Sheriff's Department. "I saw this post and they seem to be wearing the same jacket or one very similar. Were there any bicycle tracks near Nancy's house on February the 3rd, 2026, just 3.1 miles from there? A guy on a bicycle stole a package wearing a jacket, beanie and gloves. I cannot share the post here, but maybe you can look it up. I think this happened before they announced the video's existence, so he would have no reason to hide his jacket. Just a thought." And they went on to say there are dozens of Ring videos showing men carrying loaded backpacks. Some try to rip down the cameras. Others cover their faces. One or two carry weapons and try to break into houses, cars, or mailboxes. I want to pause right there. So, yes, there are a lot of people with backpacks dressed exactly like these thieves. Sure, some cover their faces, but it is extremely rare to see them wearing actual ski masks. I look at Ring footage all the time, guys, and I almost never see anyone wearing a ski mask. That is why hearing the police dispatch the other day, when you have a man fleeing from the police between 7 and 7:30 in the evening toward Nancy's neighborhood, dressed exactly like the suspect in her Nest video. That is incredibly alarming. And then at 3 o'clock, 3 of them are spotted wearing ski masks. And nobody caught them. Her mother did not even get to see them because they were already gone. Anyway, it says there are 3 local charities that hand out backpacks with sleeping bags, tarps, wheelchairs, small flashlights, gloves, hand warmers, and beanies. One of them is on YouTube. He hands out backpacks to the homeless through the kindness of others. So last night I went to check out that YouTube channel. He hands out flashlights, but not the ones you bite on, okay? He gives away black sweatpants. The clothing is completely different. No hazmat suits here, guys. He just hands out casual sweatpants. He is actually a really kind person. His channel is called Goodness in People and he helps the homeless. He is based in Tucson. He has been doing this for a while, but his outfit is completely different and those lights do not match. Multiple Ring camera videos show them operating as a team. The modus operandi matches. Plus there is actual footage of homeless people living deep inside the tunnels. Some show a place that looks impossible to escape from. Someone could be held against their will in that dark, specific tunnel. A reporter actually filed a story on this. Honestly, I do not believe it was a homeless person who took Nancy. This was not a spur-of-the-moment decision to take Nancy. Everything was executed coldly exactly as they planned, and very meticulously. That is why the police are having such a difficult time figuring out who the culprit is. I am wrapping up here because of the thunder. Thank you for joining me today for these case files. I'm your host, Daphne. And remember, the playlist is linked in the top corners for your convenience. Have a wonderful night. And please stay safe out there.